Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the opposition preview, joined by Chris from the Red Men to discuss. Don't mind them as much as we do.
I find they're all right, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
We're getting harder the last few years, though.
Yeah, do you think?
I reckon so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that 5-2 didn't seem very hard to me, but yeah, just in general. Obviously, Merseyside derby this weekend. Little bit more on it than there has been in recent times in terms of the league and where the two teams are, but how are you feeling going into it?
If we had not had Champions League, I'd have felt terrible going into this game, to be honest with you. I do feel like a little bit nervous about it. Like we always do our final words and our build-up shows the next day after the matches and stuff, and I wasn't ready to let go of the Champions League and start feeling nervous about a Merseyside derby because we've got that record at Anfield that we don't want to lose. We obviously had a record that we've not long lost at Anfield with not getting beaten and stuff. So it's going to be tough for us, and I just hope that because Liverpool were able to sort of get away from the Premier League and put in a good performance and get a good result in the Champions League, that we'll then able to do the opposite of that and bring that form back into the Premier League, because we've lost 3 games on the bounce and we're not used to this. You see people losing their heads over it, and it's like, it's a bit nuts really, because like we've been doing this now on YouTube for like 11 years and Liverpool haven't been boss for anywhere near half of that. And yet we're back to where we were just 4 or 5 years ago, and people are losing their heads big time. And it's like we're still in a relatively lucky position in that the players that we need, we own. That's different to a lot of other clubs around the world. Like, we know that once we get Van Dijk in, we'll be a better proposition. We're not going to try and drop 75 million on a defender that may or may not work. We just need them to come back properly. But yeah, it's still the Merseyside derby. Yous have got something to play for. We're fighting for 4th now. That was what was wrong with the Leicester result. That was a genuine 6-pointer for us, because having Leicester and Man United 6 points away from us meant we were fighting for 4th. And that's tough because there's about 12 teams in the league, it seems. Like, I actually genuinely care about West Ham results now, and I don't think I've ever felt like that before. So for me, it's a bit of a tough one going into this.
It's been a crazy season, hasn't it? Because obviously, you know, we spoke on your opposition preview that it's, for me, it's like training games. Every game's like a training game, and it, you know, whatever happens, and it still winds you up when you're watching it, and you still get emotionally, or I do, still get emotionally attached to it, but it's just not the same. Not being able to go to the match and have a vent or be joyful or whatever at the game, I think it heightens everything for everybody. So therefore, defeats seem worse because there's nowhere to let the steam off. There's nowhere or there's no people to talk to or whatever in the match, or go and have a pint, whatever people do. So I think when you do lose games, everything's cranked up even more. And I think probably from Liverpool's perspective, because they've been so good for 3 seasons, you'd have that thing of it'll just keep continuing. But then I just think it's getting harder and harder for teams to have any kind of like sustained run of success anyway now, because there's so many teams with money, and so many teams are getting stronger, that it's more difficult, isn't it? And this season's proved that, and I know there's been mitigating circumstances for Liverpool this season as well, but you've just said there's everyone down to about 10th. I'm looking at Aston Villa games and going, oh my God, Villa are winning, and Arsenal have just started winning, and you're looking ahead, and West Ham are there, and you're looking at West Ham
Chelsea have changed their boss.
Chelsea have changed the manager. So it is a berserk situation where there's loads of teams still in the mix.
It's just not the same, this footy. It's just not the same. Like, and you know, you think about it, like some people are dead narky when they go to the game. And I think about this fella all the time. He sits in the same seats just in front of us, and he is the narkiest bloke at the footy. But as soon as something happens, like Liverpool score or the player that he's whinging about, everyone just gives him shit. And he accepts it because he knows what he's like. Yeah. You don't even get that. All you get is whoppers on social media all the time, giving it the big one, like, because I'm angry, I care more than you. Like they're trying to prove that they're a bigger fan because they get angry about the footy. It's just not the way it works in real life when you go in the game and stuff, is it? And you're able to have that big, massive sort of release of emotion. You're able to support and sing and shout, and you get those highs and lows through the game. You don't get that. You don't feel that sort of connection in quite the same way. Although you do get emotionally attached, it's nowhere near the same for me anyway. Like.
No. There's nowhere to let off steam. You can, but it's not the same, is it? You want to be with everybody else. And you go to a match and you sat there with everyone. Everyone's feeling the exact same way, aren't they? So it's a totally mad season, and it's a totally unreal situation, and I think that's why you're seeing teams who would normally not do as well are flying like West Ham. You've got to give David Moyes credit. He's built a team that's he's just done very much what David Moyes does, which is make his team very difficult to beat.
When he's given the time, he'll do that.
He'll do it. So I mean, why West Ham still haven't given him a contract, I don't know, but that's for a different day. Going into this one, looking at Liverpool's side, obviously got injuries at the moment. What do you think the defence is going to line up? I know you've just brought in a kid from Germany, haven't you?
Yeah, Ozan Kabak, and he looked good in the Champions League. He looked a little bit out of it against Leicester and stuff, and that's difficult, isn't it? He's come in, it's our 16th centre-back partnership of the season, was Henderson and Kabak, and he then played another game, thankfully, and we kept the clean sheet as well. Like, it's not helped that Alisson's been throwing them in the back of the net either, you know what I mean? And we've been dead lucky with the goalkeeper since we signed him. We haven't really had those problems, although he has probably had too many injuries for a goalkeeper. That is a slight concern. But I think for me, it'll be Henderson and Kabak again, because if Fabinho comes back in, that's probably going to be our 17th centre-back partnership of the year, because it'll be Fabinho and Kabak. If you bring Phillips in, he's not played with Kabak, nor is Reece Williams. Henderson's the only one.
Yeah.
If Fabinho's fit, I'd actually throw Fabinho in centre mid, and have our DM back.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's Liverpool's long-term plan this season. I think Fabinho's the best of our midfielder centre-halves. But I do think for this game, having two lads that have played together is probably better for you. Kabak's reading of the game looked a lot better. Henderson's still a little bit aggressive in the challenge. That's the thing with like Virgil and Gomez and Matip. They were very much standoff defenders. They didn't engage in the middle of the park. They just walked back and ran backwards and made you make a decision, or gave the midfielders time to get back on it. Whereas Henderson's a midfielder, he's front foot. And he'll go forwards, he'll get caught out of position. And we saw that a couple of times actually against Leipzig, and he didn't take advantage of us. Whereas Kabak he's thinking more about, am I going to cover that space in behind? And so we saw that. So hopefully Henderson can improve in that department. Of course, he's a midfielder. We understand why he's not like that. But they'll be the centre-halves. I throw Fabinho in because he gives us that bit of height, bit of steel, and he sort of sets a line 40 yards from goal and says, you aren't getting past me. Like, you know what I mean? And then we'll just recycle possession, whereas we don't really have that. But I imagine he'd go with Henderson and Kabak. Wijnaldum, Thiago, Kurt Jones is probably where I'm thinking is the centre of the park. Nice. And then the front three like. Yeah.
And that's obviously the threat. I mean, what are you worried about any Everton players? Are you worried about this game there?
Calvert-Lewin, to be honest, I think, 18 goals is it already this season. And, we know Sigurdsson, I know he's a bit of a match of the day player. We were talking about this before, but still got 7 assists, I think it is, this season. Same as James Rodriguez for you. Rodriguez, obviously, just a top player, quality player, played in that game when Carlo Ancelotti last won as a manager at Anfield as well, when Real Madrid beat us 3-0. James Rodriguez was on the field that day, and you know how quickly you can change a game and just change a moment by doing something a little bit special. But for me, I think a lot of your play comes down Lucas Digne's side. He's a good player. It's interesting because we've just had that with Leipzig with Angelino, who's obviously like their top goal scorer as well as one of their most creative players, and our right side won that battle. I imagine it's going to be the same. It's going to be who wins the battle between Trent and Dean, and who's able to get the best on that side probably goes out and wins the game. So that's where we're looking at here. And Trent's been getting steadily better as well. He was obviously out with COVID earlier on in the year, and he hadn't looked the same player coming back up until about 3 weeks ago. Whereas now I think he's got Kabak inside of him. And I reckon, to be honest with you, the manager's just gone. Just play your game. Stop worrying about who's the centre half behind you. Play your game, because we're losing too much going forward with you thinking about it.
Yeah, it will. That will be an interesting battle, because obviously, I don't think, from our perspective, he's not the greatest defender. We know that, but his quality is everything in front of him. And I think Luca Dean's the same, to be honest. He's not the greatest defender. He's a good defender. He plays for the world champions. He's France's #1 left back. But his quality is everything ahead of him. He puts a fantastic ball in. I think looking at Liverpool's defence, whoever it is, it's not going to be what Liverpool's defence normally is. So, we know Dom scored in the game at Goodison, because if you put a good ball into the box, none of your defenders will beat him.
That's the difference, isn't it? I mean, he'll line up against Henderson if Henderson's at the back. Yeah. And he's got hang time, hasn't he? Calvert-Lewin in it. The only other player that I see like that is Cristiano Ronaldo, who I'd say is probably the best in the world at that, like fucking Michael Jordan hang time shit. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin can do exactly the same, can't he?
And I think that's what Everton will be looking for. And again, it's making sure, from our perspective, it's making sure he's fit. But it's going to be interesting because the no crowd there gives Everton an opportunity, I would say, to actually go there and leave everything else to one side. There's no 50,000 Reds baying for blood. Go in, just play a game.
It would have been nasty as well with the Van Dijk
Well, it would have
thing
been nasty
and
with
the Pickford
what
thing.
happened
Like,
last
it would have
time
been
without a shadow.
really
So,
gnarly going into this one.
yeah, so it's an opportunity, but it's whether Everton can take it. But the one thing I'd say from our perspective going into it is we're really good away from home. Really good. If it's that good, listen, I would be fearing the worst. But we'll have to wait and see it.
This is the first season as well, though, isn't it? Where away wins have, there's been more away wins than home wins, which tells you everything you need to know about how different footy's been.
Yeah, with the crowd. So go on then, give us your score
One
prediction.
all, you know. I'm not ready to relinquish that record yet, but I do think it's going to be a tough game for us.
It's going to happen sometime, though.
I know,
It's going to happen sometime. And I guess if it was going to happen and you win in the ground...
But I remember you saying to me years ago, like, it's the red. So when we changed the kit and went to that Shankly red or whatever you decided, dark red I called it, but Shankly red, that was the one where I was really nervous. I was like, fucking hell, he said like 2 years ago it's the red, and we've changed the red and we managed to get through that. This is if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in this season.
Fulham had lost 27 consecutive games at Goodison until Sunday and they won. That's the only thing I'm taking into this. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Big thanks to Chris for joining us. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and if you want more videos, join us on Patreon. If you want to see Chris and Paul losing their heads, get over and check the Red Men. They do it regularly. It's great. Watch alongs. They love it. See you later.